Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And if you are a YouTube user, make sure you click the bell to enable notifications so they let you know every single time a new episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast goes up. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video games? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation from the ground up, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like my buddy Mike in Lansdale, then check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. Don't forget we have loyalty rewards. Any $15 a month contributor gets to host an episode of one of our live shows with me, or a $7.50 a month contribution gets you entered into a drawing to also co-host a live show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this live episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, you've got comments, you've got anything you want us to talk about, use the streaming feature of whatever service you use to listen to the show and send us your questions if we're on live. Hey, listen, if you come up with something after the show goes off the air, send us a message through the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160. It is a great way to keep in touch with us and bring some of your content to our show. Make sure you tell us who you are so we can give you credit for whatever you contribute in a future episode. Don't forget, if you're new to the Pro Wrestling Podcast, and if you are, I don't know where you've been hiding, but it's a good thing you're with us now. Check out the Pro Wrestling homepage at prowrestling.com, where you can preview all the topics coming to the Pro Wrestling Podcast. In addition, there is an independent and wrestling events tab where you can check out shows coming to your area, smaller companies, much more intimate setting, much better experience than going to one of those giant shows for WWE where you can't even get close to the wrestlers. You could do that every time with one of these indie shows. Check that tab out, or check out my blog, Fro's Corner, also located on prowrestling.com, and check out what we've got posted there. So for this episode, we got a lot going on in the world of wrestling, but this weekend, some controversy is stirring. Here's the deal. WWE NXT Takeover 25 was insane. It was fantastic. The matches were top quality. The Adam Cole match taking the NXT Championship from Johnny Gargano was off the chain. Match of the year quality. Here's the sad part. Vince McMahon was not even at Takeover 25. Triple H ran this show. And what happens? The best show of the year for NXT. I know there's debatability about that, but my opinion, best show of the year. The Velveteen Dream versus Tyler Breeze match. Another solid outing. You know, Matt Riddle was in the ring putting on a clinic. It was great from top to bottom. The Street Profits walking out with the tag titles. Shayna Baszler still tearing up the women's division. Everything was perfect. This was a great, great show. So here's where the controversy comes in. One, I find it funny that you have Britt Baker, who's an All Elite Wrestling female superstar, sitting only a few seats down from Stephanie McMahon, watching her man win the NXT Championship, Adam Cole. But to me, the real controversy that's growing here is, we've been talking since the announcement of AEW how WWE better watch out and WWE has things to be concerned with. Let me be honest with you people. I've chronicled this both in my blog and on TSJ101sports.com, which if you want to check out some cool articles on the world of wrestling, go there now. But I will tell you, I have not been quiet about this. There is no competition, okay? But after this weekend, I see where there really is one. All Elite Wrestling is not a threat to WWE. All WWE is going to be around. What's their logo at the beginning of all their shows? You know, here today, tomorrow, forever, whatever it is. That's the truth. WWE is going to be here forever. However, the real war between these brands is going to be between AEW and NXT. NXT is the brand that brings wrestling to the ring for WWE banner. And All Elite Wrestling, for all they claimed, wins and losses were going to matter, and we're going to bring it back to tradition and real wrestling and all that. And the first show, you have people who clearly were not serious about their position. Orange Cassidy, look, I get his gimmick, but we were talking about an organization that wanted to have legit wrestling. This guy's soft tap kicking people. I know that's his gimmick. That's not going to work with all the promises you've made about real wrestling. Now, look, I loved Double or Nothing, but I love Takeover 25 too. So the reality is, those are the two brands that are going to do battle to see who could put out the best North American product. I still think New Japan Pro Wrestling puts out the best product overall. I still think WWE has the most talent. They just don't use it properly. And I thought it was very interesting, Jon Moxley this week on Talk is Jericho podcast, talking about how WWE would be better off if Triple H was in charge. Well, do you need to see any more than Takeover 25 to see that he's hit the nail on the head? Vince McMahon used to be a complete wizard when it came to pro wrestling. He had a pulse on the fans. He knew what was going on, knew what to do, and he has not been able to recapture that glory. He's had so much success. I don't think he's able to keep up with what the current fans want. I really don't think the things that worked in the 70s, 80s, and 90s are going to work anymore. Unless you're talking about a complete philosophical change, going back to a TV 14 type of presentation, but I don't see them doing that, being publicly traded and going on Fox Sports. I don't. So if you're not going to do that, that's not the competitor for AEW. But NXT, much edgier, much more serious, much more physical, and the match quality is off the chain. That's where your competition happens. And we know now that All Out is going to take place August 31st, as is the next NXT TakeOver show. It's the NXT UK brand, I get that, but let's be honest. It's not a direct competition, because one's going to be on at 2 in the afternoon, one's at 7 o'clock at night. So they're not going head-to-head. What they are doing is bringing a presentation to the fans on the same day, where if you buy the network for $10, I was reading this, one of my buddies at TSJ Sports put this up here about, you spend $10 for the network, $40 for All Out, you're dropping $50, and that's what a pay-per-view used to be anyways. I agree with that. I think that's a great point. And, people are going to probably watch both shows, but the reality is this. The NXT UK brand has not been cultivated real well since its inception. Yeah, we get the occasional Pete Dunne match. Walter's pretty awesome, but we get to see them once in a blue moon. Yes, there is the weekly show, but if you're not a network subscriber, you don't see that. So mainstream WWE fans are still very much unfamiliar with the UK brand. So it's kind of similar to what AEW's got going on. The regular NXT brand is kind of similar, fan base wise, to what the All Elite Wrestling product is. So that is where the competition lies. And so when I watch those two shows, I'm going to be curious when the pay-per-view buys and the numbers come in to see how many people tuned into NXT TakeOver UK versus how many people tune into All Out. See who's going to be crowned the first All Elite Wrestling World Champion between Chris Jericho and Hangman Page. I'll be curious to see that. I think people really want to see Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega. I know I'm dying to see that match myself. But as much as I'm loving to see that, who knows what they're going to do with NXT UK. So we're going to get a really great competition with those brands. That's just my opinion. Got to keep our eye on that. Ring of Honor has announced that their Best in the World Championship main event match is going to be Matt Taven versus Jeff Cobb. And I think that they see the value in Jeff Cobb, and he may be the guy who within less than a year already has won the Ring of Honor Television Championship, and then he loses it in a fatal 4-way when he didn't even get pinned, and now I think he may be the man in line to dethrone Matt Taven to put that belt on someone who's a legit, overpowering a foe for anyone for the Ring of Honor Championship. It's kind of like Samoa Joe back in the old Ring of Honor days. So I think Jeff Cobb may actually take that championship. We're going to have to keep our eyes on the Best of the World pay-per-view, because that's going to be an incredible match. We've been hearing all this conversation all week now. Brock Lesnar last week supposed to cash in or making the announcement of who he's cashing his contract in on. Then Stephanie McMahon comes out after Brock decides not to cash in yet, and she gets all angry. And they're doing this angle where Paul Heyman has now announced that Brock's going to cash in on Raw and Seth Rollins. What is going on with WWE, and do they have no intelligence whatsoever when it comes to this particular angle? Brock Lesnar is the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. He does not have to declare anything. He doesn't have to say when he's going to take his chance. He could wait a year to have his opportunity. So why they're running an angle where Stephanie's angry and upset, that's ludicrous. For anybody who's been a fan of WWE for more than 2 years, that's the stupidest angle you could possibly play. Why they're doing it, I don't know. Are they trying to rush this thing? Do they not have a long-term deal with Brock? Do they not know what to do with him in Saudi Arabia? If they put the belt on Brock Lesnar, what happens at Saudi Arabia? Does he face Baron Corbin? It doesn't become a triple threat match with Corbin and with Seth Rollins. How does that work? Were they not able to come up with a match for Brock Lesnar at Saudi Arabia? So that's how they're going to try to work him into a triple threat, and that way they can, satisfy the Saudi Arabian fans by bringing Brock Lesnar to the show as champion? I don't know. I think the whole booking of the Brock Lesnar-Seth Rollins saga was going great up until WrestleMania, and now it's taken a nosedive. I mean, this is horrible, horrible booking, and it just doesn't make sense. Even Corey Graves was on Twitter making fun of it. Like, it doesn't make sense. He doesn't have to announce now when he's challenging or who he's challenging. Does anybody remember when Edge cashed in the first time? It was right after the Elimination Chamber. John Cena's beaten down by 5 other people, and he came out, cashed in, and won. That's how it works. CM Punk cashing in on Edge when he got laid out by Batista. That's how it works. That's the whole point. Seth Rollins coming out almost at the end of a match against Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns to take the championship. That's how it's done. So to act like Brock has to do something different, that's just ludicrous. It's stupid. I wish WWE would pull their head out of their tail. Figure this stuff out. By the way, I thought it was hilarious today. For anybody who follows Twitter in WWE, the 24/7 championship has finally changed hands on social media. You have R-Truth at the golf course with Carmella. They're hanging out, talking about the championship, and out of nowhere, I shouldn't say that because it wasn't Randy Orton, but out of nowhere, Jinder Mahal appeared, attacked R-Truth, pinned him for the championship. Moments later, after celebrating for a few seconds, you have R-Truth roll him up and recapture the 24/7 championship. R-Truth is once again the WWE 24/7 champion. I know people hate this stupid title. I know it looks horrendous and atrocious. I'm with you on all that. But if you're telling me that you can give me something to watch on WWE's Twitter feed all week long, now you got to give me more substance than a quick roll-up small package for a win. That's kind of stupid. But if you want to give me something a little more substantial, maybe a 2-minute, 3-minute interlude somewhere at a bowling alley somewhere or something, I'd watch that. It's no less entertaining than Stone Cold showing up at a hospital and beating McMahon down. So I'll take it, but let's make it look more realistic. This is ridiculous the way they're booking it so far. We know that this week we're going to see Goldberg coming to SmackDown Live. First time ever. He was a Raw superstar, his first run in WWE, and The Undertaker will be there as well. Obviously, these two building towards their match at Crown Jewel next weekend should be a great match, and I say that with conviction. I think Goldberg really put it all out there when he came back to face Brock, and I thought he looked great, and he looks like he's training even harder now. The Undertaker has had all his surgeries. He's in the best shape of his life. He's eating on his new meal plan. He's lost so much weight, cutting weight. He should be in prime shape. I think these two have the opportunity to really do something cool. I don't expect them to be Goldberg versus The Undertaker 1998. I don't expect that, but I expect it to be better than the people who are completely complaining about the show. I think the match is going to be better than that. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Sasha Banks this week met with Vince McMahon in Stamford. Apparently they're trying to iron out their differences. It sounds like they're on much better terms, and they're actually expecting she may be back before the end of the summer. I think at this point she missed the opportunity to kind of have a program with Bayley at Money in the Bank. I think people wanted to see that, but I do think she's a legitimate threat on Raw for the Raw Women's Championship, and that's something they need. They need a legitimate person to challenge Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks could easily be that person. We talked last episode about Pac. He was advertised for All Elite Wrestling's Fyter Fest in a 6-man tag team match with the Lucha Brothers going against the Elite. That is not going to happen. He has been removed from the Fyter Fest poster, advertising, promotional materials. So apparently whatever creative issues they had, they've extended beyond just the Hangman Page match. Now apparently he doesn't want to lose a 6-man tag team match or win a 6-man tag team match. That sounds like he just doesn't want to do business with anybody but Dragon Gate. Well, good. Pull the plug on any relationship with the guy. Let him sit in Dragon Gate and enjoy the fruits of his labor there. Most people try to get to the top of the mountain wrestling, not go backwards and do it for a company that has such little exposure. He has fans that adore his work. You would really love to see him have a more prominent role in all of wrestling, and instead he's chosen to relegate himself to a, let's be honest, it's like a C-League company. And I say that, like, if you're talking like WWE, New Japan as being the A-Leagues, and like Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, places like that being the B-Leagues, what is Dragon Gate? It's a C or a D-League organization, because I would tell you, Dragon Gate could put on some good shows, but they're not as good as Rev Pro, Progress Wrestling, WXW. Like, they're all better than Dragon Gate. So, what is Dragon Gate? C, D-level promotion, but that's what he wants to back. He's got loyalty to him. More power to his character. Then don't come back, okay? Don't come to North America if you're not going to actually give us some action. I'm done with Pac. Terry Runnels this week in the news got arrested bringing a loaded gun to an airport. It could carry a 30-year jail term. I don't think that's going to happen. She gave a whole story, a sob story about going to her mom's house, trying to shoot armadillos, tearing up her mom's flower garden, and forgetting the gun was in the purse. I don't know how you forget a handgun is in your purse. The thing weighs probably 4 pounds. I don't know how you forget that, but that's her story. She's sticking to it. We'll have to wait and see how they handle that. It's official now. Luchasaurus has signed with All Elite Wrestling. He had a great debut with them at All In, or I shouldn't say All In, Double or Nothing. He looked great. He had a great spot. The only problem is, and Jim Cornette talked about this week on the Cornette Experience, how there was a table at ringside that nobody wrestling set up, and then he eliminated somebody by throwing him over the top rope through the table, Joey Janela. And it makes no sense. There's no mystery to it. There's no, Devon get the tables moment. Somebody should have set up the table so people wait to see who's going to go through it. When it's already sitting at ringside with no announcers there, you already know somebody's going through it. That's stupid. Again, bad booking. All Elite Wrestling is going to change the world of professional wrestling, except they're already booking some kind of strange stuff. Just saying. Tommaso Ciampa update. Triple H was on a conference call after NXT TakeOver 25 and made it clear that Ciampa is ahead of schedule. He's cleared for non-contact light activity, which means he basically can do virtually nothing, which is pretty much what Triple H said. Until he's 100% cleared, he will not be getting into a ring, and that could be an extended period of time, but he is on the recovery trail, so hopefully we get to see him sooner rather than later. And the other news of the week was Lars Sullivan deleting his Twitter account. That's too little too late if you ask me. The guy obviously has some personal convictions that really don't have a place in 2019 in society, but hey, if WWE is going to still push the guy, I suppose we should try to let bygones be bygones. Not really. I think the guy's a scumbag, and I'm not going to root for a guy who wants to talk a certain way about people of all different ethnicities, genders, etc. It's not appropriate in 2019. The guy needs to get a clue. I hope the sensitivity training gives him a brain switch as well, because it's ridiculous. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down all the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks as always go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects we use in our shows. Today's podcast sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing all your classic skee-ball, pinball, or arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college or university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking a few moments with us today. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, don't forget to check out www.tsj101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of wrestling, or check out my blog, In Fro's Corner, located at frowrestling.com for the latest news and editorial pieces. Until next time, everybody, hope you enjoy some of that indie wrestling that's out there. Don't forget to check that tab, Indie Events, on frowrestling.com. Go see a show, enjoy it. Tune into Raw tomorrow night. Let's see if Brock actually cashes in. I'm hoping he does not, but I suspect he may. And we'll have to wait and see how everything plays out. Until then, next time, guys, if you didn't see it, check out NXT TakeOver 25, and we'll talk to you later.